Hello and welcome to JoyNews Prime. Coming up this hour, Kolebu renal patient to picket to the facility next week if it is not reopened for treatment by then.
It's creating a lot of problems for us.
More as staff of the Kolebu Oncology Department call on management to rescind the decision to query a colleague who publicly expressed frustration over the neglect of critical medical equipment at the department.
They need assistance. We can help them provide answers to some of the answers they are looking for, not to single out two of our over 1,500 members as victims of the circumstance. They were speaking on behalf of the people, and we think that management will have to reconsider whatever they are doing.
Now, teacher trainees across the 46 colleges of education demand closure of schools and annulment of the exams as strike by CTAG enters day 55.
We demand that the colleges of education should be closed and students be allowed to return home, since it has been more than 21 days without students engaging with their tutors.
Now, a renal patient who received treatment at the Kolebu Dialysis unit will picket the facility next week. The Kolebu Dialysis unit has been shut for the past 13 days, compelling patients to seek urgent care from private facilities, and those who can't afford that lay in wait for fate to take its course. My colleague Kenneth Jesse was at the dialysis unit. He engaged President of the Kidney Patient Association, Bafo Ahenkra, who says the facility has run out of consumables.
When the news team arrived at the dialysis unit, the usual beeping sound of medical equipment was missing. Only the security man and the president of the Kidney Patients Association, Bafo Ahenkra, were on site. 3 members of the association, according to Mr. Ahenkra, have lost their lives recently.
Yes, I'm not a doctor, but we've lost 3 people. As to how it was because of out of the dialysis, that because of the closure, I wouldn't speak. I wouldn't know, but I know I've lost 3 people.
Within that period?
Within the period. Within the period. But like I said, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to take their job. Whether it was because of the closure, I don't know. But we've lost 3 people.
Those who can afford treatment at private facilities have had to reduce the number of times they go for the dialysis. The poor have been forced to halt treatment in hopes the Kolebu dialysis unit will be reopened soon.
Not been told anything. Nobody has communicated anything to us. So we're just looking at them. But it's creating a lot of problem for us.
The problems that it's creating is what I want to find out. What sort of problem is it creating for people like yourself?
Big problem. One, Kolebu, because it's a government facility, the price here is a bit, not cheap, but it's a bit moderate. So now when you go to the private centers, they are charging between 600 to 1,000 per session. Most of us are supposed to do 2 or 3 sessions a week. So let's take the lowest, 600 per session. You need about 1,200 to do a week. And how many can afford? You just can't afford doing it.
President of the Kidney Patients Association says members will picket the Kolebu dialysis unit next week if the facility is not opened by then.
Now, let's still stay in Kolebu because the chapter of the Ghana Federation of Allied Health Professionals has described as unfortunate management's decision to query the head of the hospital's MRI unit, Dr. Edward Ayem, for expressing his frustration over government's neglect of critical medical equipment at the hospital's oncology department to the media. Speaking to JoyNews, President of the Ghana Federation of Allied Health Professionals, Dr. Shea said the concerns expressed by his colleague were genuine and should be tackled instead of punishing him. The group has called on the hospital's management to withdraw the disciplinary action against their member.
So, yes, actually, this is actually unfortunate. At the national level, we have engaged both the management, the board, the Minister of Health, and the National Labour Commission on this. The last engagement was that we should hold on, we should not do anything, let the Minister of Health engaged with management and the board to resolve the issue. Whatever was said before this was to, according to our understanding of the facts and the issues, was to be put on hold until that engagement is exhausted, and then they will get back to us. It beat my imagination as to why anybody will dream of taking any action against our members, who are actually leaders of the Allied Health Group in Kolebu. If they need assistance, we can help them provide answers to some of the answers they are looking for, not to single out 2 of our over 1,500 members as victims of the circumstance. They were speaking on behalf of the people, and we think that management will have to reconsider whatever they are doing.
Now we'll keep an eye on how this story develops and we'll update you. Now, still staying in the health sector anyway, some children with hemophilia are left bedridden following a 3-month delay in the delivery of blood component responsible for clotting of blood. Now, according to parents of children with the condition, the Food and Drugs Authority has delayed in releasing documents to facilitate the importation of the donor-sponsored medication. Some of the distressed mothers say further delay in the delivery of the medication could lead to death among children living with the condition. There's more in the following report.
Hemophilia is a rare disorder in which blood does not clot in a typical way, as a patient could bleed for a longer time after an injury. Mothers of children living with hemophilia count it a blessing when their wards make it through the day unhurt. This is due to the absence of the blood component responsible for the clotting of blood at the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital, which serves people with the condition in the northern sector of the country. The concentrates of clotting factor 8 and clotting factor 9 are slowly dripped or injected into the veins of a patient to improve blood clots when injured. 6 years ago, Sandra Opoku's newly born baby died after circumcision due to the failure of the blood to clot. Presently, her toddler has a similar condition but has continued to live due to the medical support received. But as the shortage of concentrates linger, Sandra lives in constant fear and worry.
What is making us very worried is that if you go to Konfanoche Teaching Hospital, a lot of our children are in pain after sustaining injuries. Some of them are unable to walk. Some children will have to undergo surgery, but because the clotting concentrate is not available, they can't undergo the surgery. For about 3 months, we don't have the medication. It is hard to watch on as they bleed.
Some children are bleeding profusely after being injured due to the absence of the essential medications. The concerned mothers are blaming the FDA's failure to release a document to access the medication from donors.
We don't have even some of the markets for us to buy. The concern is that before we get the drugs, we have to take a letter from the Food and Drugs Authority so that we will take the drugs outside to the donors for them to release the drugs for us. But for now, close to about 3 months now, we've not received the letter to enable us to send it outside for us to receive those drugs.
For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
Now, flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, says it is a pleasant feeling to stand vindicated in the Airbus saga. It comes after the special prosecutor cleared the former president of all wrongdoings in the Airbus saga. Ms. Mahama says after close to 8 years of exit from power, no allegation of corruption has been proven against him. He says members of the NDC have consistently put themselves up for investigation when allegations of corruption are brought up against them. Speaking at a public lecture to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the death of engineer Paul Victor Obeng, John Mahama likened the investigations to the late statesman's similar investigations by Sraj.
The Commission did not find any evidence to support the baseless allegations of corruption or impropriety against PV. Indeed, on page 49 of the 3rd annual report of Sraj, which was published in 1996, the Commission found that the allegations that PV owned a string of plush houses in a suburb of Accra worth billions of cedis was untrue. Nana Chairman, we in the NDC do not place ourselves above society. We are humble and honest enough to submit ourselves to investigative bodies if a basis for it arises. Relatedly, I've been out of office for more than 7 years and 7 months. No allegation of wrongdoing has been proven against me, including the baseless Airbus brouhaha that this government No allegations of wrongdoing have been proven against me, including the baseless Airbus brouhaha that this government attempted to clothe me with. Once again today, I say it's a pleasant feeling to stand vindicated.
Now, Counsel for Minority Leader lawyer Eduje Tamaklo has described the Attorney General's appeal against the acquittal of Dr. Kesel Atuforsen and Richard Jakpa as an emotional reaction by the AG. Atuforsen and Richard Jakpa were acquitted and discharged in the ambulance case after the Court of Appeal held that the evidence provided was not sufficient to warrant the accused persons to answer to the charges leveled against them. But the Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, has on Thursday filed an appeal at the Supreme Court to order the defendant to continue with their defense at the trial High Court. Reacting to the appeal, counsel for Dr. Atuforsen, Eduje Tamaklo, says the AG's move is nothing but an emotional reaction.
This appeal, for all intents and purposes, is an ego trip. It is just to, as it were, an emotional reaction to a judgment the Attorney General is not happy with. It is not an appeal to meet the ends of justice, but just, as it were, to satisfy the emotions of the Attorney General. And that is what it is.
Is that really the case, especially when it says that there's been some error in looking at the evidence they have provided before the court and that's needed to be looked at properly in his appeal, as we've seen?
Any fair-minded person who reads the judgment of the majority of the Court of Appeal will come to the conclusion that it is a fair, impartial evaluation of the evidence on record. Remember that this is an appeal. The Attorney General is not going to manufacture new evidence at the Supreme Court. It is what transpired at the High Court. Nothing more, nothing else.
Have you been served officially from the court yet?
No, I just saw people WhatsApp and what have you. Nothing.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Associate Professor at the University of Ghana Law School, Professor Kwadwo Appiah-Tua, believed the AG's decision to take the matter to the Supreme Court cannot be faulted. He said the Supreme Court's ruling will put the case to a final rest.
The decision rendered by the court, which seems to be on the sound footing that there are certain fundamental issues, basic issues in criminal law that may not have been observed by the Attorney General. So, for example, the issue of burden shifting from the prosecutor onto the accused person. And then what we understand by a letter of credit and the issue of authorization. Those are the grounds which seems to be pretty strong that the Attorney General did not do a good job there. However, if in his opinion, he feels that he has looked at the cases carefully, the judgment carefully, and is of the view that the rationale or the basis for going on appeal is solid. At the end of the day, we'll see how things will pan out. Well, probably not to that extent that ego has been bruised and so on. But I think that the bottom line is that, yes, the AG took some missteps, and some professional and ethical issues were abused or compromised in the way he handled the plea bargain part of the case and trying to influence or advise the accused to do certain things which are against the ethics of the profession. And so these are issues which may have hurt his professional credibility. And I think that if that is the case, what has to be done is to have accepted the advice of the judge in the first place to recuse himself.
Away from that, the Electricity Company of Ghana has cautioned its customers and the general public against the illegal sale, distribution and purchase of fake meters in the Ashanti region by some unauthorized individuals. According to the power distributor, some individuals flood their operational areas with fake meters, but steps have been taken to clamp down on such illegality. The ECG is cautioning perpetrators to desist from such acts as it impedes its revenue mobilization. There is more in this report by Nana Boachi Yadom Retiu.
The Electricity Company of Ghana in the Ashanti West region, together with the security agencies, has confiscated substandard meters in various parts of the region. Some of the meters were impounded in a bus traveling from Kumasi to Aplau. According to the power distributor, such acts have become rampant recently as it impedes the progress made in revenue generation. ECG Ashanti West PRO Benjamin Entry says individuals have no right to install their own meters without recourse to ECG.
The influx of these fake meters is affecting our operation negatively, both technically and then commercially. Commercially in the sense that sometimes you find customers owing ECG on their postpaid meters. Once these meters get to their premises, then they remove or disconnect the postpaid meters with a huge debt and then replace it with these substandard meters, and then they'll be consuming power on the blind side of ECG. Once our meter units and our field investigators visit the premises, we're looking for a meter, we can't find a meter. So it becomes like trying to retrieve that, and it becomes almost impossible because we cannot locate the meter to even give it a bill. Owners of these fake meters end up distributing power illegally to customers through substandard networks. So you realize that someone might be having a fake meter in their premises over here. They will be distributing power supply to customers as far as 500 meters away, 600, 700, 8 meters away, with substandard network, cables and then poles. So if these customers are stealing power on our blind side with the help of these fake meters, it's something that we need to have a national conversation of. We need the support of all stakeholders, including the media. Again, also we want our customers to know that ECG as a company, we don't have an official mobile money account.
The company is clamping down on such fake meters installed on ECG's blind side. Nana Boachi Dankwa Adams reports for Joy News.
Now, his aspiration was to become a professional footballer, but this turned a mirage after suffering a shoulder injury. 24-year-old Stephen Achampon, unperturbed but resolved not to become a burden on his family after only completing his secondary education, is now making a living out of shoe washing in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. Emmanuel Bright Kweku caught up with the SHS graduate who is raking in profit from what some describe as, quote, basic home chore, unquote, to escape Ghana's unemployment situation plaguing the youth.
With a basin of water, soap and his brush, Stephen makes a livelihood out of a chore one would deem a personal task to keep clean, shoe washing. This has been his daily source of income after graduating with a high school certificate.
For one, I'm here, and I'm started sneaker washing, and I'm starting 3 years.
I used to help someone sell sneakers. When the market became slow, I decided to focus on shoe washing as a business.
So, and I'm besides meeting me the local business. Like say, we share the name or the banner my day, Mahama. No, Miska.
Stephen Achampon, 24 years old, had dreams of becoming a professional footballer, but this was truncated after suffering a shoulder injury in 2017. In this vicissitude of life, he resolved not to succumb, but make the best out of his situation. As the eldest of 3 siblings, his mother was questioned for not allowing him focus on continuing his education to a higher level. People asked why I didn't allow him further his education. Because he was obsessed with football, I couldn't do anything about it. I'm glad at what he's doing now. Stephen now plies his trade along the cramped veranda of his mother's house at Bantama, a suburb of Kumasi. At his mini shoe shop, he sells these varieties of pre-owned sneakers and Crocs neatly cleaned. Social media has come in as a handy advertising tool for him. Each morning, Stephen finds himself hooked on TikTok to attract more customers while he inspires others. Stephen is committed to his craft despite being belittled.
Some girls were teasing me initially, but I'm not perturbed. I know what I want to achieve.
Stephen anticipates a better future from his trade while he inspires others to make enough from the little they have. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Such an inspiring story there. We'll take a break here. I'll be back with more. Please do stay. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Greater Accra Regional Security Council, RECSEC, has demolished unauthorized structures in the Dodowa Forest to halt the encroachment. Although the forest was designated as a reserve, many portions of the land have been sold to private developers, leading to significant forest destruction. There is more in the following report.
Dodowa Forest, one of the few remaining forests in the Greater Accra region, covers about 4.45 square kilometers. Despite being a protected reserve and home to the Chenku waterfalls, it has been encroached upon by private developers. To reclaim the land, the Regional Security Council has launched a renewed effort to combat the threat. Equipped with bulldozers, the Security Council demolished walls and half-built structures that have replaced once thriving trees and wildlife. Greater Accra Regional Minister Titus Glover indicated that none of the constructors have proper permits to build in the forest.
This wall is on our land, we'll break it.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I have got documents from the Regional House of Chiefs that states that this land is for the Shea people. But we told them, if you have documents, bring it to the RCC. As we speak, nobody has brought us any document.
The minister intends to lead a reforestation effort to reclaim the forest.
We declared the Dodowa Forest and Katamanso Pinkwine Forest as security zones. These are two landmark forests in Gadangbe history. So we are here to regain our forest back. With the support of the Forestry Commission, they have given us some trees that we are coming to plant.
Some locals, especially the youth, welcome the action. One resident told the media previous efforts to secure the land and halt encroachment had been unsuccessful. They now urge the RECSEC to identify and hold those responsible accountable.
And then we took action about that. But since we have the backing of the chiefs who say they have nothing or they have nothing to say about this whole thing, we the youth cannot do anything without the backing of the chiefs.
The Regional Security Council has now called on all those affected by the demolition to furnish them with their documents. For Joy News, Michael Ashali.
An election headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, also by the Chopbox Technologies, a convenient service, and Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging the gap for positive youth development. Now, the Electoral Commission of Ghana says it will not be able to publish all certified results from polling stations across the country before it proceeds to tally and declare the results of the upcoming 2024 presidential elections. The 2020 presidential elections outcome was heavily disputed by the opposition National Democratic Congress after it criticized the Electoral Commission for announcing the results twice owing to some anomalies in the computation of figures. However, to forestall such occurrences, which it deems as a threat to the country's democracy, the Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEG, says all polling station results must be published on the EC website in order to promote transparency. There's more in the following report.
The Institute for Democratic Governance says with less than 200 days to Ghana's presidential and parliamentary elections, there is an urgent need to promote credible elections in order to attain transformational development in Ghana. In view of this, IDEC is bringing together stakeholders in this year's polls to dialogue on ways by which the upcoming elections could be made more transparent and inclusive.
We are the seventh, that is this year, the latest, most democratically governed country in the African continent. And so, going into the 2024 election, we have a very huge reputation, not only to protect, but also to improve upon.
For the Electoral Commission, political parties in most cases contribute to heightening of tension, which Director of Training at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sribo Kweko, describes as needless.
I am saying all this thing for you to tell people that no matter what we do, results will be declared. No matter what you do. If you kill all of us, other people come and do it.
But the opposition National Democratic Congress says the EC ought to take blame for the anomalies that characterized last year's elections and to ensure that such events do not recur in the upcoming polls.
And yet the results went through. So as for the 2020 style, we don't want to hear that in at all. It's not a mechanism that you can use to say that EC did well or they didn't do well. It's one of the most botched elections that was conducted. It was a rigged elections, and the documents, the evidence abound.
To avoid the blame game, IDEC says results from all polling stations across the country ought to be published on the website of the Electoral Commission in order to avoid speculation. Kwesi Jonah is a senior research fellow at IDEC.
Unlike in the past, this time around, polling station by polling station results will be available on the dedicated portal, so that whether you want to go to court or whether you are an ordinary citizen who wants to analyze polling station by, the results will now be available to you. My plea is before the 21 days, but do it in a good enough time so that whoever wants to go to court can also have time to prepare.
The NPP, on the other hand, is urging the EC to take its time in order to ensure that it verifies the outcome of the polls.
The kind of work that it involves. I think that is why the Electoral Commission is saying they cannot be very definitive on this particular. Yeah, it will be too much work for them, because I know as a political party, even when we are also doing the coalition, you find it very difficult to display or even do a publication, because you can make an error and you want to come back to correct.
In response, the Electoral Commission of Ghana says although it is unable to publish the results of all polling stations before the declaration of results, it will address all concerns of stakeholders going into the elections.
But for the polling station one, because it's about 41,000, we cannot publish them before we declare the results. But we will try and publish them before the 21 days for filing of a petition, because our results are hard copies. So you need to scan them before you can upload them.
IDEC remains hopeful that this engagement with stakeholders will aid in the consolidation of Ghana's democracy. Blaise Ogan's report for JoyNews, Accra.
Well, NDC flag bearer John Mahama has vowed to ensure Ghana remains peaceful throughout the December elections and beyond. Addressing the 31st Biennial General Council meeting of the Assemblies of God Church in the Upper East region, he said no political ambition justifies the shedding of even a single drop of a Ghanaian blood.
And so as we go into another election, often there's a general sense of apprehension that something will go wrong. As a member of your church, I can assure you and pledge that I'm a person of peace, and if there's any violence, it won't come from me. I'll do everything to ensure that Ghana remains peaceful. Because if you resort to violence, it is the same people you are coming to govern over. And so I don't think that even a single drop of any Ghanaian's blood is worth political power or coming into office. And so I give you that assurance. We've seen an increase in multidimensional poverty from the Ghana Statistical Services recent statistics that they've put out. It means that more of our people are becoming poorer. It says that 8 million of our people in 2023 went 1 day without food because they couldn't afford it. And so it means that people are hungrier, the hardship is real. And this is the time for us to show compassion to each other, because in times of poverty, we must be our fellow's keeper and share the little that we have.
A coalition of concerned teacher trainees in the Ashanti region is demanding a temporary closure of the 46 colleges across the country following the unabated strike by their teachers. The Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, boycotted the classrooms after the government reneged on its promise to implement the arbitral award orders. The students say the industrial action is adversely impacting their academic progress and mental health. There is more in this report by Berima Kofi Dawson.
Classrooms in all the 46 colleges of education across the country remain empty. The Colleges of Education Teachers Association has since June 14 embarked on an industrial action seeking the government's implementation of outstanding compulsory arbitration awards. The 8-week-old strike has stalled academic progress and adversely affected students. The teacher trainees who are bearing the brunt of the impasse are left stranded. The coalition of concerned teacher trainees says the strike has left the students stranded and affecting their mental well-being. Opokudia Manuel is the convener of the group.
Our educational journey as trainees is at a standstill, and future of teachers' education and Ghana's development is at risk. The ongoing strike has left teacher trainees of the 46 colleges of education in chaos, stranded and uncertain about our future. Without our tutors, access to relevant course outlines and materials to even attempt self-study has become extremely difficult. The financial burden is affecting our mental health and well-being. We urgently call on the government, stakeholders, and well-meaning Ghanaians to help resolve this impasse. We demand that the colleges of education should be closed and students be allowed to return home, since it has been more than 21 days without students engaging with their tutors.
The students are also worried over the non-payment of 6 months trainee allowances, which support their cost of living.
Last semester, that was level 300 semester, they were supposed to give us a 4 months allowances, which is almost 1,600 cedis. But as we speak right now, they have made payments of 400 cedis to our various accounts. So we are calling upon Dr. Baud Maumia to also attend to us, so that in this time of hardship, we can also at least get something to eat.
The health authorities in the Techima municipality of the Bono East region have expressed worry at the increasing number of new HIV cases recorded across the area. Municipal Health HIV Coordinator Mumuni Mohammed says the prevalence of HIV and AIDS, particularly amongst the youth, has increased, with the municipality recording a total of 925 new positive cases in the year 2023. Anna Sabet has more in this report.
The prevalence of HIV/AIDS amongst adolescents and young people is an issue of ongoing concern. It has been established that adolescents and young people represent a growing share of people living with HIV worldwide. While declining amongst all other age groups, AIDS-related deaths among adolescents have increased over the past decade. Here in the Techima municipality, a total of 15,227 persons were tested in the year 2023, out of which 925 tested positive for the virus. Mumuni Mohammed is the municipal HIV coordinator.
For the last year, 2023, looking at the raw figures that we have tested, or the fight, how we are doing so far, we are able to test about 15,227 people who voluntarily came to the hospitals, non-pregnant women. Either they were suspected by the clinician, or they came to the hospital themselves, or we went to the community to test them. 15,227 were tested. And out of this figure, 925 were positives. So when you look at the positivity rate here, out of the number we have tested and the number that is positive, 6.1% were positives.
The youth, according to Mumuni Mohammed, constitute majority of the number of positive cases recorded. This is largely due to their sexually active nature.
The youth, let's say they constitute from 15 to 39 years. The disease is very prevalent among this age group because they are the sexually active.
Municipal Director of Health Services, Dr. Kusi Fosuhene, says the move would go a long way to help prolong one's life as well as protect the person's family.
Knowing your status is not only about you, it's about protecting yourself, protecting your partner, sometimes even protecting your unborn child. For example, if it's a woman who knows their status, they'll be put on the antiretroviral medications. When they get pregnant, we even change the medications for them so that we prevent in utero transmission, so that the mother doesn't give it to that unborn generation.
Anna Sabit, Joy News, Tichiman.
Away from that, the beneficiaries under the sanitation model of the Youth Employment Agency engaged by the waste management company Zoomlion Limited are demanding payment of their salary arrears over a 16-month period. The angry workers, comprising female sweepers and cleaners, lament the non-payment of their outstanding salaries is biting hard on their living conditions, even as they grapple with the prevailing economic difficulties. There is more in this report.
The cleaners, adorned in their blue and orange uniforms in red armbands and headgears, took to the streets of the business district of Kumasi to vent their displeasure at their employer. For close to a year and a half, these workers, mostly women, have had to endure working without being paid their due salary of 250 cedis every month. The aggrieved workers have threatened to boycott their services if the government fails to pay the outstanding amounts.
1 year, 4 months,
You have not paid 1 year, 4 months arrears. You have only paid 4 months. We demand payments for all our arrears. We wake up at dawn at the peril of our lives. These workers sweep streets, market centers, and the central business district of Kumasi both day and night. Lab News understands a number of these workers have over the past year withdrawn their services over the non-payments. They are questioning why their meager salaries are delayed despite working diligently for them. Every month you receive your salaries, but we must suffer. We have families to take care of. Ashanti Regional YEA Coordinator Seth Chumesi, in an event, said discussions are ongoing to settle the arrears.
These beneficiaries are paid directly from the coffers of the Youth Employment Agency. The sanitation model beneficiaries are not here. Though we recruited them, we don't pay them directly. And ladies and gentlemen, in the coming days, with approval from the board of the agency, management will announce drastic measures and roadmap to eternally resolve the issues.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Well, the Northern Chief Farmer of the Cocoa, Coffee and Shea Nut Farmers Association, Imoro Isifu Al-Hassan, has called for policies to shift from the use of fuel wood to other innovations. This, he said, stems from the continuous depletion of shea trees by people in the area. Mr. Imoro believes when that is done, not only would women continue to be in the shea business, but also the environment will be protected. The Chief Farmer said this at the opening ceremony of the World Shea Expo in Tamale.
The World Shea Expo seeks to offer small and medium enterprises the opportunity to showcase their products and highlight the benefit of the shea to the more than 400 participants attending the expo. The participants include actors in the shea value chain. Speaking in an interview, the Northern Chief Farmer of the Cocoa, Coffee and Shea Nut Farmers Association, Imoro Isifu Al-Hassan, said the event is to highlight the potential of the shea following the shift from the use of cocoa to shea.
We're asking for policies that will bring in certain innovations that will let us shift from cutting down shea trees, using them as fuel, so that we can develop from there. We're looking at stakeholders, politicians, to kind of formulate policies that will help the poor woman to be able to get out of this quagmire. What we want to achieve is to expose the share sector to the world.
The Deputy Agric Minister, Hadi Teferu, who spoke on behalf of the Vice President, said a lot of work is being done in the share sector to promote the product.
We make $12 billion annually from the next 7 to 10 years. There's huge investment that is being done, but because the gestation period is 5 years and more, a lot of work is being done, and pretty soon Ghana is going to be earning on annual basis an average of $2 billion per each of the 6 crops that we are developing apart from cocoa.
On his part, the Northern Regional Minister Shani Alhassan Shaibu urged stakeholders to explore innovative ways to enrich the quality of the share.
All right, we'll take a break here for Showbiz, but you know what? It's Friday, and we have the special Joy News Showbiz karaoke night for you, and it's featuring the reigning artist of the year, Stone Boy. But you want to stay tuned for that. We'll be back with that.